Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of Facebook Live with the Kansas City Star Editorial Board. My name is Toriano Porter. Today, I'm joined by colleague Dave Helling and special guest, U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Missouri, the United States Attorney for the Western District of Missouri, Tim Garrison. Tim, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on today.
Now, Tim, you have been tasked with Operation Legend. Can you tell us a little bit about that initiative?
Yeah, Operation Legend is a response to the unprecedented levels of violent crime and homicide that we have seen in Kansas City in 2020. And it consists, at least in Kansas City, in the addition of approximately 200 special agents and deputy United States Marshals from the FBI, the ATF, the DEA, and the U.S. Marshal Service. And their focus is to investigate and solve both new and previously unsolved violent crimes in conjunction with the Kansas City Police Department. And it is named in honor of 4-year-old Legend Taliaferro, who I think, as many people will know, was tragically killed in the middle of the night as he slept by some individuals who drove by the apartment where he was sleeping and shot it up. And a bullet passed through that apartment's walls and struck and killed little Legend.
Now, Tim, there's been a lot of concern in the community about Operation Legend and how it impacts the African American and other minority communities. What can you tell our viewers and our readers about the premise of Operation Legend and how you're going to maintain law and order without violating people's rights?
Well, the same way that we do on a daily basis. I know the number of 200 agents may sound surprising to a lot of people, but I think people need to understand that there are already several hundred federal agents from a variety of agencies, in addition to the ones that I mentioned. And we work on a daily basis with local law enforcement, such as the Kansas City Police Department. We have an excellent relationship with them. And we're not doing anything different than what we do, than what we have done on a daily basis with our partners at the KCPD. We're just doing it with additional resources to try to get our arms around this spike in violence.
All right. To be frank, Attorney General Barr, President Trump, they announced this initiative, this crime-fighting initiative, without the input of the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department, the mayor of Kansas City, and other local officials. How have you been able to reassure the community and the law enforcement officials here that this is a legitimate operation and not used as a political ploy?
Well, I need to correct a couple of things there first. Before Operation Legend was even named Operation Legend, or before it was
Tim? Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay.
All right. Well, before Operation Legend was even called Operation Legend, before it received the green light to start in Kansas City, I first contacted the Kansas City Police Department. I contacted the mayor of the city of Kansas City. I spoke with the Jackson County Prosecuting Attorney, Gene Peters Baker. I spoke with the Attorney General for the state of Missouri, and I spoke with the Governor's Office for the state of Missouri, and had their support before we ever even began this operation.
Tim, Dave Helling with the Star. Thanks again so much for being with us.
Yes, sir.
What is it that the federal officers who are part of Operation Legend, what is it that they can do that the Kansas City Police Department can't do on its own? And isn't the involvement of the federal government here and in other places sort of a tacit admission that the police departments, the local police departments, aren't up to the task of solving these crimes and protecting the public?
I don't view it that way. In terms of what the federal agencies do, what they bring to this fight, I'll try to describe what we do. And again, we were doing this already before Operation Legend even began. Every week at the Kansas City Police Department headquarters, it happens every Wednesday morning, The representatives from the KCPD and each of these 4 federal agencies, again, FBI, DEA, ATF, and Marshal Service, meet to conduct what we call a weekly shoot review. And the purpose of that shoot review is to share intelligence among these 4 agencies who have, as at least part of their role, combating violent crime, to share intelligence concerning every known shooting, both fatal and non-fatal, that occurred within the previous 7 days. And at those meetings, they share intelligence, and then they fan out and make assignments to try to go, if the case is ready for an arrest and charges, to locate those criminals and arrest them, or if there's additional investigation that needs to be done, to do that. And in addition to the new cases that come to us via the shoot review, there are some historically unsolved cases that we hope that these additional resources will be able to assist with.
Well, but why wasn't, Tim, tell us why? I mean, you could do that all the time. Why did we need this special operation to sort of coordinate these resources? And what happens when it goes away? I mean, one assumes that it's not going to go on forever. So at that point, do you stop having Wednesday morning reviews with the police department, or
no?
So put it into context as to why this makes it different than what you would normally do with the department.
Well, the context is the unprecedented levels of violence that we've seen in Kansas City in 2020. Between 2016 and 2019, as of this date, August 6th, we had at a low 66 homicides and at a high 88 homicides. This year in 2020, as of this date, we have 116, more than a 30% increase. And that was just unacceptable. And so we invited these additional resources to help us get our arms around that. And I don't consider that an indictment of our, frankly, very good Kansas City Police Department. Each of these agencies brings a special expertise to this effort. The FBI is renowned for their ability to conduct in complex long-term investigations. The DEA is excellent at connecting the dots between members of drug trafficking organizations that are often responsible for the violence. The ATF has just some incredible technical capabilities that permit us to identify when firearms that are used in crimes have been used in multiple offenses. And the Marshal Service is excellent at tracking down fugitives. And so it's our intent and our hope that these additional resources can help get us over the hump and get things under control as they've spiked here in Kansas City.
And so the follow-up question, obviously, Tim, is how do we judge whether it's worked or not? I mean, if we're sitting here 6 months from now and the murder rate still is high in Kansas City, can we call Operation Legend a failure, or what's the yardstick that the people of Kansas City should use, and other cities now where it's being, I guess St. Louis is being involved in Operation Legend today. How do we measure whether this has been a good use of resources 3 months from now, 6 months from now?
Well, I've tried to be very frank from the beginning, and even before Operation Legend. Last year, when 8-year-old Brian Bartlett was killed under very similar circumstances, and another innocent child struck by a bullet that passed through the wall of his home and killed him in his sleep, I said we cannot arrest and prosecute our way out of this situation. It's going to take a multifaceted approach, and we need this is a time for all hands on deck, from government agencies, from non-government entities, from community groups, from churches, and frankly families, to help us get control of this situation. But the thing I keep pointing out is that enforcement is an essential part of this. And none of the other efforts that I just mentioned can take root and bear fruit while all of this shooting and killing is going on.
Tim, one of the criticisms of Operation Legend is the person or the people responsible for murdering Legend Talaferro have not been caught. Where does that investigation stand?
Well, we typically don't comment on ongoing investigations. If there is any arrest or charge that is to be brought against an individual involved in Legends killing, I'll be the most eager person to make that announcement. That investigation is ongoing, and we need the assistance of people in the community. There's a saying in law enforcement that somebody always knows. And somebody knows who killed Legend Taliaferro, and we need that person to contact the anonymous Crime Stoppers tip line and let us know who did that.
Right. It's a known fact in Kansas City, Missouri, that witnesses to crime do not cooperate with the police a lot. Do you find that with the the U.S. Attorney's Office? Do you guys find that people are not willing to cooperate with you? Can't you offer a more level of protection to witnesses than the local police department?
Well, again, I don't mean to make it sound like there's any sort of divide between those of us in law enforcement at the federal level and at the local level. We all want to see this level of violence go down. That's why we've been promoting the fact that the Crime Stoppers tip line is completely anonymous. The people who answer the phone don't even know the names of the person who's calling to provide that information. We need that information in order to investigate these cases and identify these the most prolific violent offenders, so we can take them out of circulation so they're not hurting anybody else.
How many homicides have you guys solved or made arrest in regarding Operation Legend?
I checked on that right before we came online here, and according to the best information that I have at the moment, I think we have 12 homicides where we've made arrests during the pendency of Operation Legend, and this is just our second week.
So we're clear, when you say we, what does that mean, Tim? Is that federal authorities arresting these people, these suspects? Is it the Kansas City Police? Based on your work, can you be a little more specific of how those 12 fit into whatever the
Sure.
operation is and what the department is doing?
Yes. The federal agents that have come here and the ones that are already here are conducting joint operations with the Kansas City Police Department and frankly, other nearby agencies as well. We've made arrests in partnership with the Independence Police Department. The Missouri State Highway Patrol is helping us, and it really is a joint effort. We are working arm in arm with our state and local law enforcement partners. These are not new federal agents who are just coming to the area, aren't familiar with the area, don't know the history of the area, and going out and trying to do things on their own. We are embedding them in squads, in units that can go out jointly with local law enforcement who do have the history, who do have the local intelligence in the area, and to supplement and augment the good work that they do. I'll give you a case in point. We're not ready to announce the name yet because the local agency to whom we've referred this case hasn't announced their charges yet. But during the course of one of these shoot reviews, an individual who was wanted for murder was identified as a person of interest. The Kansas City Police Department and the 5 federal agencies shared the intelligence that we had on this individual. And yesterday, after the weekly shooting review, that individual was located by United States Marshals Fugitive Task Force and taken into custody. That was referred to a local state prosecutor that had that warrant issued for his arrest, and the firearm that was found on him when we made that arrest was referred to the ATF. The ATF has a capability called NIBIN. I believe that acronym is the National Integrated Ballistic Intelligence Network, and we were able to identify that the firearm that was found in this person who was wanted for murder, found in his possession, was previously used in 4 other incidents in the Kansas City area. So that's the kind of partnership that was already ongoing previous to Operation Legend, and is now simply being supplemented in a more robust way by these additional forces.
And then can we assume that that partnership, as you describe it, will continue indefinitely?
Well, with
it would make sense. It's not like you can go to the end of the year, Tim, and say, well, it worked great, now we're stopping it.
No, but what I will say is that partnership will be ongoing with the agents that are organic to the Kansas City area. The agents that are supplementing us have been drawn from field offices from the 4 federal agencies from all over the country, and so other cities are sacrificing their organic federal law enforcement agencies to help us get over the hump with.
And how much longer will then these out of town agents be involved in Operation Legend? Do you know?
Well, it'll be measured in weeks, not months, and it's designed to make an impact in a quick matter of time.
Yeah. Can I move on to sort of a related subject quickly, Toriano?
Without question.
Because we've had, obviously, Tim, as you well know, a great discussion in the Kansas City area about the relationship between the police department and the city of Kansas City and African-American members of the African-American community. The Justice Department has a civil rights division. Can you tell us a little bit about the posture of your office, that office, the Justice Department, in investigating allegations of police excessive force and the way that it interacts with the African-American community in Kansas City?
I'd be happy to, and I can tell you that allegations of excessive use of force are something that we take very seriously. And by we, I mean my office as well as my federal partners and the Civil Rights Division at the Department of Justice. I'll tell you that I was an assistant U.S. attorney for 11 years in this office before I was appointed the United States attorney. And when I was an AUSA, I had a caseload of hundreds of my own cases. Now that I'm the United States attorney, I don't have the ability to carry that kind of caseload, but I do have one case of my own, and that is a case involving excessive use of force by a law enforcement officer against a person in custody. And the reason I took that case on myself is because I wanted my office and everybody else to understand that this is something that I take very seriously. I understand that law enforcement relationships with the communities that they protect is something that's of great importance. And
it's under some strain, as you know.
Well, I understand.
Here and in other cities, not just Kansas City, but across the country, obviously.
I understand that. There are a lot of voices calling for changes. I'll also say that those are not the only voices that are being uttered right now. Gallup just released a poll yesterday showing that 81% of African Americans want the same or increased levels of policing in their neighborhoods. So I don't want to suggest that there are no problems and nothing that we can improve on, but I also want people to understand that a lot of people, I would say a majority of the people, especially those people that are affected by these high levels of crime, do want the men and women in blue to protect them and do their jobs.
Yeah, but just to be clear, Tim, your role is very important in this regard, isn't it? Because if the community comes to believe it can't depend on the formal and informal relationship organizations in Kansas City, the Justice Department, the federal government, plays an important role in providing civil rights protections for people, right?
Oh, we absolutely do, and that's a duty we take very seriously and are happy to carry forward. But again, I have to say the voices that are marching in the streets and some legitimately calling for reform and some angrily doing other things such as the vandalism that we saw at the Kansas City Police Department are not the only voices on this issue. I spoke yesterday in Kansas City with a group of between 20 and 30 Black clergy in the Kansas City area. And several of them pulled me aside and let me know how much they appreciate Operation Legend and our partnership with the Kansas City Police Department, and express their support for the Kansas City Police Department.
Yeah, Tim, I'm gonna push back a little bit on that. Some of the people I've talked to in the community, the clergy, the African American leaders in the community, they want the feds to go home. They want the DEA, the ATF, and the feds to go home. They don't want them here. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think there was a lot. It's unfortunate that the spike in crime and the effort to take this on in Operation Legend occurred at the same time that there was just frankly a lot of ugliness going on in Portland, Oregon, and a lot of people conflated these two efforts. It was announced at a time not of my choosing, but at a time that lent it to misunderstanding and misinformation on the part of a lot of people. And when people see ongoing battles between federal agents and very active protesters, and then hear that federal agents are coming to Kansas City, I think there was a lot of concern. And we've done our best to try to allay those fears. The forces that have come to Kansas City have nothing whatsoever to do with the right of people to protest. The First Amendment guarantees citizens the right to protest, to bring their grievances to government for redress. And my oath is to the Constitution, and we will defend people's rights to do that. The Operation Legend has been going on for a couple of weeks now, and there have been protests during the pendency of this operation. But I think any observer has to admit that the forces that have come here had nothing whatsoever to do in response to that. They're strictly here to try to address the violent crime spike.
Right. Another criticism that I hear that I want to relay to you, Tim, is that how do you got your office has been trying to be transparent with Operation Legend. How do people in the community trust that the things that you're putting out in the community are true? Like, how do we know that you guys are not just slapping Operation Legend on routine, regular arrests?
Well, I think it's important to understand we're not here to try to run up the score. We could just do. We could do a lot of things that would really cause that arrest number to go up. We are calling arrests made under the rubric of Operation Legend anything that occurs during the pendency of this operation that involved federal agents that were integrated into the units that are going out with the Kansas City Police Department to make arrests of wanted fugitives. As well as new cases involving violent crime, especially violent crimes committed with firearms.
Okay. And what's kind of been the biggest, I would say, misconception that you've heard about Operation Legend, Tim?
Well, kind of what I alluded to earlier, the misunderstanding and frankly misinformation from folks that want to protest against law enforcement, that we were here to occupy Kansas City, that we're here to suppress people's right to protest. I keep hearing the phrase "federal troops are coming to Kansas City." There were assertions that there would be tanks in the streets. There are no troops being sent here related to Operation Legend. There are no tanks in the streets. We're not here to suppress anybody's civil rights. We're not here to cordon off certain neighborhoods, conduct checkpoints. The agents that are here are conducting evidence-based, targeted operations against the most prolific violent offenders. Those offenders who are most responsible for the most frequent acts of violence that are driving the homicide and violent crime rate that we're seeing this year. And the way that we will prove that we're doing what we said we would do was by the examples of the individuals that we're sharing. The folks that we have brought cases against are individuals who are involved in the the trafficking of firearms into our community, in the trafficking of controlled substances, individuals who are wanted for homicides and other violent crimes. And you can see in the press releases who we're talking about. The individual that I was talking about was arrested yesterday in possession of a firearm that was used in 4 other shooting crimes is an excellent case in point of the kind of cooperation that can result.
But do you anticipate a lot of increased federal prosecutions, Tim, as a result of this work, or are these primarily cases that will be turned over to local jurisdictions? The one you just mentioned, are you making a federal criminal case out of that, or is that being turned over to the local prosecutor?
Well, that's again, the partnership doesn't stop among the people that carry badges. It also extends to, as I mentioned earlier, our cooperation with local prosecuting authorities. That individual was wanted on a state warrant for a murder that he had been accused of. And when the individual was arrested with the assistance of federal agents from the United States Marshal Service, was found in possession of a firearm. Now, that individual happens to be a felon. And so now we have a situation where he is both eligible for prosecution and already charged under the state law for a murder, and he's also now eligible for a charge of being a felon in possession under the federal system. And we will coordinate with the appropriate local prosecuting attorney and make a determination as to the best forum in which to present those charges first.
Outstanding. Two things before we let you go, Tim. I want to just acknowledge our Facebook Live audience. We have a very lively comment section today, and I just want to thank the people for chiming in. Also, your office has done work with groups like Mothers in Charge and other crime-fighting groups. What about the groups that you haven't really worked with? Are you going to do outreach in the African-American and minority community just to kind of let them know what the U.S. Attorney Office does here in the Western District of Missouri? Well,
we have and will continue to do so. I mentioned yesterday a meeting that I had at a local church here in Kansas City, which was attended by more than 20 local pastors. Prior to that, we've been having meetings in my office with other clergy and with local community leaders, with local public officials, and frankly with families that have been affected by this gun violence, including some of the members of Kansas City Mothers in Charge. So yes, we will continue to build on those relationships, and I look forward to continuing to do that.
And Tim, as far as diversity, how many people of color, and this is a question from a viewer named Lori, how many people of color are high-level positions in your office?
The highest level person that we had in my office was recently received a promotion to become a United States magistrate judge. We welcome diverse applicants to our office and have hired a number of diverse assistant U.S. attorneys and support personnel during my tenure, and we appreciate the perspectives that they bring to the work that we do.
So at this point, 0 in your office?
0
people of color, high-level positions at this point?
No. We have a number of African American prosecutors, federal prosecutors that represent the United States in federal district court and before the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, as well as, in addition to the prosecutors, a number of support personnel of various backgrounds.
Okay. Can I get one more question in, Toriano? It had nothing to do with Operation Legend. I worked for a little while on the Robert Courtney story, and I know your office worked hard to prosecute Robert Courtney and then argued he should not be released early in a pending case. At basically the same time the Bureau of Prisons was getting ready to let him go. That must have been pretty frustrating that there were some crossed signals and concern in the community about Mr. Courtney's status in custody, if you will. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. And that the process under which he apparently came close to, I don't want to say being released, but
correct. He was still going to be in home custody.
Right. But my office and I thought that would be certainly an unfortunate irony that a health professional who was responsible for the suffering and premature deaths of hundreds of people might benefit from the fact that we're undergoing a health pandemic right now, and out of concern for his health, receive an upgrade in the conditions of his confinement. Now, it's a reality that COVID-19 is ravaging the world right now, not just our country. And it's a problem when you have a lot of people in a confined space, such as inmates in a prison. That is a bad combination when you're trying to keep people healthy. And as I understand it, the Bureau of Prisons was undergoing a process in which they have to attempt to identify the people most vulnerable, most susceptible to the COVID-19, and identify them and try to take care that they stay healthy. Now, he did petition the U.S. District Court under a separate process that we could be involved in, and my office weighed in vigorously to oppose his compassionate release, as the term is called, because we thought it was inappropriate. That he had not met the standard for compassionate release, and also the nature of his crime made it inappropriate for him to be released. Yeah. Now, the Bureau of Prison administrative process that goes on without our input. Once a defendant,
somebody would pick up the phone and say, "Hey, we're thinking of releasing this guy," but apparently that didn't happen, and one assumes it never happens. That the BOP just makes its own decisions, right?
I can't comment on a process that I don't have any involvement in.
Yeah.
The matter was brought to our attention, as I recall. I believe the Bureau of Prisons has to notify families of victims that were impacted by this to notify them that an inmate, as they do in any case,
correct,
that an inmate was about to be released or transferred to home confinement. And when those individuals found that out, they notified us that process was happening. But again, my office didn't have anything to do with the change in that determination. We opposed the process that was going on in federal district court.
I get that, and I was just trying to get a little bit at the frustration you must have, or someone in your office, one assumes, felt when these pieces were moving. It appeared in opposite directions here a couple of weeks ago. That's why I was inquiring. But I appreciate your answer on that.
Certainly.
U.S. Attorney Tim Garrison, thank you. You have a thankless job. Thank
Very
you
helpful.
for being there with us and taking these tough questions. Good luck to everything you do out there, and hopefully Operation Legend can address the violent crime here in Kansas City, Missouri, without violating people's rights. Thank you for joining us. Once again, I'm Toriano.
It's my pleasure.
Oh, sorry, Tim. Go ahead.
Thank you. No, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Reporter Dave Helen, KC Star Editorial Board. Once again, thank you to U.S. Attorney Tim Garrison, and good afternoon.
Take care.